eat a good meal. You did what you were supposed to do. And then you want a nap. Not a turkey food coma, just that quiet, heavy tiredness that sneaks in after lunch or dinner. Your eyes get a little heavy, your brain a little foggy, motivation's gone. You tell yourself, I'm just digesting, that's normal. Or worse, I'm lazy, I have no discipline, I just can't push through. But here's the weird part. You just gave your body energy. So why does your body act like it's running out of gas? Why does eating sometimes feel like you're plugging your phone into the charger and then watching the battery still go down? In this episode, we're going to explore a different possibility. That your sleepiness after meals is not a character flaw at all. It might not even be about too many carbs in the way you've heard before. It might be a signal from your cells about how they're regulating energy, not just burning it. And buried in that signal is a quiet player that almost never gets mentioned in this conversation. Fructose. Not as fruit is bad, but as a switch. A metabolic mode that changes what your body thinks the goal should be. Is the goal to burn energy or to conserve it? By the end of this video, I want you to see your post-meal fatigue as data, not a moral failure, and maybe even as a clue to how your cells are choosing which energy program to run. I'm Chris Mearns, and this is the Fructose Model. Let's start with what you feel. Picture your day. You wake up, maybe have coffee and something light, and you feel reasonably clear. You start working, you're in your groove. And then lunch. Maybe it's a bowl, a sandwich, some leftovers, something healthy-ish. An hour later, your brain feels like someone turned the dimmer switch down. It's the same you, the same desk, the same work, but your energy is a different person. So what actually changed? We're told the answer is simple. A blood sugar spike and then a blood sugar crash. But that story leaves out something critical. There is sugar in the blood. And then there's energy in the cell. Those are not the same thing. Inside every cell, you have tiny structures that are basically your personal power plants. They're called mitochondria. You can think of them as the little engines whose only job is to turn fuel into usable energy. That usable energy is a molecule called ATP. If mitochondria are engines, ATP is the electricity. It's the charge that makes the muscles contract, the neurons fire, the thoughts happen. And here's the key. Your tiredness is not about how much fuel is around. It's about how much ATP those little engines are making, and whether your brain is allowed to use it. Which means you can have lots of food, lots of sugar, lots of fat floating around, but if your mitochondria slow ATP production, you feel tired, even as the tank looks full. So the real question behind your post-meal slump is not, did I eat too much? It's why did my cells decide to act like we should power down right after I fed them? Researchers looking at weight regulation noticed something odd. In some conditions, animals with plenty of food available still show lower activity, lower spontaneous movement, almost like their bodies chose energy conservation even when calories were abundant. So the body isn't just a furnace that burns whatever you throw in. It's a thermostat with multiple modes. One mode is spend energy and stay active, and another mode is save energy, slow down, and store for later. The mystery is this. Why does a normal lunch sometimes flip you toward that saving mode instead of the spending mode you actually want in the middle of your day? To answer that, we need to talk about a specific kind of fuel. Not just carbs, not just sugar. Fructose. When most people hear fructose, their brain goes straight to fruit. Berries, apples, oranges, maybe a smoothie. But in the modern food environment, a huge portion of the fructose we get comes from added sugars. Table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, sweetened drinks, sauces, even healthy bars. And here's the twist. Your body does not process fructose the same way it processes glucose, the main blood sugar. Now, they're both sugar, but they send very different messages to your energy system. Glucose is like cash that you can spend right away. Your cells see it, they respond to it, they pull it in, and they run it through the mitochondria to make ATP. Fructose behaves more like a backstage signal. It doesn't raise blood sugar in the same way, and it's handled heavily by the liver. At a cellular level, fructose metabolism does something subtle but important. It tends to temporarily lower the level of available ATP inside the cell and increase certain byproducts like uric acid. From the cell's point of view, that looks like we're low on energy, it's time to conserve, and it's time to store. Imagine you finish lunch. Your blood is full of nutrients, but some of the pathways that got triggered are sending a winter is coming signal, not a go run around and build things signal. And that's the contradiction. Plenty of fuel on board, but your brain experiences don't move, don't think too hard, shut it down. Is it only fructose doing this? No. Sleep, overall diet quality, insulin resistance, stress, and medical conditions like diabetes or thyroid disorder can also shape how your mitochondria behave after a meal. If you have intense sudden sleepiness after eating, especially with dizziness, palpitations, or confusion, that's not something you should try to self-diagnose. That needs a real medical workup. But even in people who are basically healthy, patterns of frequent added fructose, refined carbs, and ultra-processed foods might be nudging that thermostat towards conserve energy more and more often. Here's a strange way to think about it. You might feel tired not because the meal knocked you out directly, but because part of your metabolic system interpreted that meal as a cue to enter a mild hibernation-like mode. Less spontaneous movement, less motivation to be active, more storage. And when you've lived like that for years, it's very easy to tell yourself a story. I'm just not an energetic person. I don't have willpower after lunch. I meant to crash after meals. What if the story is not about you as a person at all? What if it's about what program your cells are running? So let's come back to the mystery. Why are you tired after eating? In one sentence, because for many of us, certain meals are flipping our energy system into conservation mode instead of active mode. Your mitochondria are not just underpowered engines, they're decision makers. They're listening for signals, including from how we process fructose and other fast-absorbing fuels, and then choosing between spend and save. That reframe matters because if post-meal fatigue is a decision your cells are making, then your tiredness is not proof that you're broken. It's feedback. It's your body saying, hey, we just ate, and I'm going to read that as a store and slow down signal. And that might show up as needing coffee to get through the afternoon, or always scheduling your hardest work before lunch because you'll know you'll be useless after, or hitting that weird wall after dinner where you just want the couch and a screen, even if you slept fine. And if that's true here, where else is the body telling the same energy story?